Once upon a time, we understood there are forces in this world that cannot be explained. Man was once a creature of the wild. He roamed the hills and hollows, harvesting the game and filling his larder with wild edibles that Mother Nature provides. But we have retreated now to our technological cocoons. Our sustenance comes from factories and farms thousands of miles from where we live. We walk no further than the distance from our air-conditioned car to the air-conditioned office or store. And the only wild things we see are on our huge flat-screen devices. As limited as our world now is, it is easy to forget there are things out there beyond our understanding. We are so certain that everything can be put under a microscope, and when we occasionally are confronted with the unknown, we are as bewildered as a spoiled lapdog suddenly confronted with a rabbit. What is it? What do I do now? Do I chase it or run from it? In the end, we normally dismiss it as a figment of our imaginations. I have no experience with rabbits, therefore rabbits do not exist. It has been said the greatest trick that Satan ever played on mankind was to convince him that he does not exist. Whether we believe it or not, evil spirits are real. And sometimes they manifest themselves in unusual ways. Down in the south part of this county, just before the hills give way to the Big Black River swamps, where gnarled old oaks that could have witnessed the Civil War stand draped in grapevines as thick as a man's arm, like deep hollows so steep and inaccessible that likely no man has set foot in them in 50 years. Even though they are just a few miles, as the crow flies, from a modern state highway. The vegetation is so thick that even at high noon, only a dim, filtered light reaches the forest floor. Old Jake No Shoulders lies in wait in the cane brakes, his fangs brimming with deadly poison. And not far away, 700-pound alligators lurk in the swamps, with only their eyes and nostrils above the water. As deadly as these natural predators are, there are forces beyond the natural that sometimes rise out of these dark places. In the early decades of the 20th century, a mysterious creature roamed the hills and lanes of this area, called Old Wooly by the locals. He appeared as an unnaturally large black dog or wolf-like creature. The folks in the area said he was as big as a black bear and fast as a galloping horse. His eyes seemed to glow with an unnatural light. He appeared along the lonely country roads, often late at night. In these early days of the modern century, the country folks still lived close to the land, much as they had for centuries past. Horsepower meant flesh and blood, not oil and steel. Men still kept hounds for hunting deer and bear. In fact, so thoroughly did these packs of man and beast scour the woods that the black bear was soon hunted to extinction, and the white-tailed deer were hard-pressed until modern game laws curbed the hunt and allowed the animals to rebound. Yet despite the skill of these men at the hunt, Old Wooly defied them. for no dog would track him. Vicious dogs that would bring a 300-pound bear to bay would tuck tail and whimper at the whiff of his sulphurous scent. Shotguns and rifles fired at point blank had no apparent effect on old Wooly. For old Wooly was no beast of the world of man. In England he was known as Old Shuck or Barghest. And in Mexico and Central America he was Cadillo, the hellhound. The hellhound has been known since ancient times in every culture. He haunts the remote places and pursues the lonely travelers of the night. To stare at his glowing eyes was thought to bring certain death. Your only defense is to flee and call out to the heavens for salvation. There is a story related to me by a very old and wise man, who in turn heard it from another. It seems there was once a young man of this area who foolishly went a-courting a bit too late. One evening, as he walked along the country road, the shadows lengthened and the night closed in. The light faded, and an ominous feeling of fear and dread came over him. He picked up his pace. Now the deep woods come alive at night in this part of the world. Insects sing in the deep shadows, and the hoot of a barn owl echoes through the trees. Yet he senses something else, something sinister. Suddenly, as if from thin air, old Wooly was on the road behind him, and the young man ran for his life. Fortunately, he was almost to his destination when the beast appeared. In those days, most country homes had two fences around them. A cattle fence enclosed a pasture with a gate that allowed the buggies and wagons access. The house itself was often surrounded by a picket fence that kept the bovines out of Mama's flowers. The young lady's father kept vicious dogs for hunting and protecting the house from undesirables. It had been the young man's practice to stop at the gate and call out for his beloved, who would then come out and pin up the dogs so he could safely approach. This night, such niceties were dispensed with, and a young man moving with a speed and desperation that only imminent death can supply, vaulted the gap and cried out for his beloved to open the door. Old Wooly burst through the gate that would have stopped a 1,000-pound heifer, and drew so near the young man could feel his hot breath. The young lady opening the front door just in time to see old Wooly almost on top of her beloved. The family's vicious dogs were whining and whimpering like frightened puppies. Then something happened, and is still talked about in the county today. The young man, though he ran as if the devil himself was chasing him, and who knows, perhaps indeed he was, realized he was about to be overtaken. Commending his soul to God, he hurdled the picket fence, and as he did, he cried out to heaven, "O Lord, save me." The young lady, seeing the one she loved most in the world about to be consumed by a supernatural horror, screamed out at the heavens as well. The words broke from their lips at the exact same moment, and old Wooly vanished in a cloud of smoke. This supernatural beast still wandered the hills off and on for the next few years, but the word had spread that the defense against evil was not a gun, but with God. Few people walk the country roads at night anymore. We speed by Cancun in steel and glass. But should you ever find yourself walking alone at night in out-of-the-way places, and you hear a low growl and smell sulfur, just start saying a prayer